Good morning, my name is Insane Raven and I play Magic the Gathering, if you don't know. On this video, we're going to be doing a quick deck tech for a deck that might be one of my favorites recently, which is Nethroi, Apex of Death, otherwise known as Violante, the plant beast form. And this deck comes in just above $100, but it's very easy to make some cuts, especially if you want to cut, well, the deck is $140. However, you can cut about 40 of those dollars by cutting out the two expensive versions of these two cards. Apex of Death is going for about 96 cents, and Tesla Call Off is going for about $1 instead of the $24 and $20 these two cards represent right here. So, for the most part, I build a lot of these quirky theme-based decks based on movies or fun little gimmicks or commanders that don't see get played often. So with that, I try not to build many serious decks. Doesn't mean that I can't, it just means that that's typically not my go-to, if you know what I mean. So with this deck, I want to kind of show off that yes, I can build a more serious deck, more get you out of nowhere type deck, but also when future tech deck videos come out in the future and they're kind of a bit more silly, you guys can look back to this video and know, oh, I can make a banger. So our commander for this deck is Nethroi, Apex of Death, Violante, plant beast form, for 2 white, black, green. It's a legendary creature, cat, nightmare, beast. It has a mutate cost of 4, a Selesnya, and 2 black, black. This Selesnya being a green or white, black, black. Death Touch, Lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with a total power of 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's some spicy shit. Now, I kind of saw this card, and I was going to do a season 2 of All for One. You know, that show that failed. Mostly because a lot of the commanders from those 4 sets that I fell in love with and picked aren't exactly the most banging sets. Like, yeah, you have a couple of standouts, but not quite the most banging. So I've kind of moved away from that and started doing just more quirky decks like this. And being that I have almost too many of these kinds of crossover cards, I figured let's build a deck out of it. So this deck is obviously very creature based. I think most of the deck can come down to creatures. The deck list will be in the list below, but we have a creature count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Yeah, so almost a third of this deck is just creatures, just because this deck really wants to mill itself out and then bring back a bunch of stuff. So with Death Touch and Lifelink being on the table, I wanted to kind of play off that as well, as I'm playing with the dead and I'm bringing back things to gain me life. And one of the things that Life Gain has a big problem with is that it doesn't really end games, it just prolongs them. And I don't like that. I like a game to end so I can play another game. So I do have a couple of cards that this deck is loosely built around, which, I don't know, can be a lot of fun. The first one is Astron Decadent. This card says it's for 4 and an Orzhov, 1 white, 1 black. Legendary creature that's a vampire, elf, and rogue. Get all those creature types in. For Death Touch and Lifelink, at the beginning of your end step, you can choose one. Feed, target opponent loses life equal to the amount of life they've lost this turn. Or Friends, I gain life equal to the amount of life I've gained this turn. That's one of the cards. The next card I have that's loosely based around is Araya, First of Lochthrin. I do have the Multiverse or Hero versions, because why not? Whenever Araya for 3, for black, 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 whenever Araya, First of Lochthrin, or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. Zulaport Cutthroat, for 1 and a black, whenever Zulaport Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and I gain 1 life. Vito, Thorn of Dusk Rose, for 2 and a black, legendary vampire cleric. When you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. I also didn't show you this little port the Cutthroat, but I feel like everyone kind of knows what this card looks like, so probably not necessary. Second card is Dina, Soul Steeper, For a black and a green, legendary creature, Dryad, Druid. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. And then I never use her second ability, again with another multiversal legend print. Next card, it's loosely based about, is Blood Artist, just once again to double up those triggers and all of that. But as you can see, there's a lot of death going on here, and that is part of the reason why Teysa Karlov, for 2, a white and a black, a legendary creature, human advisor. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent I control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creature tokens I control have vigilance and lifelink. I have never used that second ability. Also, didn't even end up using her all that often. I kind of just put her in there as a, hey, let's continue to put a bunch of death touch and lifelink things in. Dying triggers. So for the most part, this deck is all about milling myself, which is why as a bonus, you can add a card like Angel of Suffering for 3 and a black. For a Nightmare Angel creature, it has flying. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards as a 5/3. That, in this kind of deck, is spicy. It is basically fill up your graveyard with all of the things you want and nothing that you don't. I also have a couple of cards here that the deck really isn't built around, but they just act more as safeguards, like my Boneyard Lurker for 2 black and a green with a mutate of 2 Gogori. Whenever this creature mutates, return target permanent card from your graveyard to my hand as a 4/4. Really nifty in this, so I can go back and get some of the enchantments I might have thrown in. Even though I don't have that many enchantments, I have a total of 6 enchantments. I have a total of way more enchantments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 15 enchantments. Most of which are just card draw or giving me life when things die or milling myself more. Like the 3 main enchantments that this deck is built around is Whip of Elbows, giving all of my creatures lifelink. For 2 black creatures, I can draw lifelink. And then for 2 black and tap, I can return target creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, exile it at the beginning of my next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Activate this ability only time you can use the sorcery. I never used the second ability because it was mainly here to give everything lifelink and give my, hey, I gain life, you lose life, a bit more power. Sanguine Bond, I can never say that card correctly, my apologies. For 3 black, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. One of the cards that has gotten way down in value because of its recent reprint and a couple of the precons, which I'm really excited for that. Like, I bought this card when it was like $5-6, but I am so happy that it's much lower now. Like that's where it should be. And even though I say that and I die a little bit on the inside because I know what that card does. Out of the tombs, this is basically a safety net and a like get me all my stuff in the as quickly as possible. Like, it's a win-win and I love it. In the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Eon counters on Out of the Tombs, then mill cards equal to the number of Eon counters on it. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, instead, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If you can't, you lose the game. All of that in this deck for a 2 and a black for 3 mana. That's a golden card. It came in the Warhammer 40k just for this, and it's absolutely brilliant. Now, one of the things that this deck kind of gets bogged down by is the fact that if I'm throwing all of my creatures and all of my mana into the graveyard, essentially, I don't have a lot of graveyard recursion in this deck, which is why cards like Perennial Behemoth, which lets me play lands for my graveyard, is kind of a big deal. It's more of a safety net than anything. Really, what this deck ends up doing is turning my graveyard into my hand in a lot of ways. Like, we have the Behemoth. We also have this Gogori Finebroker for black, green. When it ETBs, I can return target permanent card from my graveyard to my hand, which really just works really well with this. But no, this is a deck that it's fun. People aren't quite expecting it with mutate. They see mutate and they essentially run for the hills. But it's a fun little deck. And honestly, I'm proud of it. I really did love this little deck, and that's about that. With the full deck list in the description down below, let me know what you guys thoughts. Also, with this being a new type of video, these like quirky tech decks. Well, this one wasn't as quirky as it was just, hey, I have a way to kill you with a graveyard. That might not be normal. Let me know what you guys think about the tech deck, how I could improve them. I know I need a stand instead of just holding the camera for 11 minutes while talking to you, which is probably step one. Step two, I don't know. I haven't quite gotten there, but let me know what you guys think. Yeah, but thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Would you guys build a Belante Plant Beast form or a Apex of Death? If not, I get it. Mutate's weird. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.